This is Rob Tebbutt for ID Boxing. Delighted to be joined by Adam Smith. We're here in very, very sunny Bournemouth. Adam, nice to see you. Been a while.
Very sunny. I've had to put my shades on, Rob. It's beautiful weather, isn't it? It's fantastic to be down here. We've all talked about it for a long time with Chris Billam-Smith and his dream to headline a show in Bournemouth, and I'm really pleased it's happened. And you know, congratulations to Ben and Boxer and McHenessy and everyone for putting it together. It's a great main event. It's a great top of the bill, and it's a surprising one because, you know, we were looking obviously our new fighters, our boxer fighters, many of whom are on the card here. But to have a European cruiserweight title, it's a bit of a throwback as well, with two really good fighters who we haven't been working together with for a while, is great. And I've known Usyk-Joshua ever since he was a kid, really, and I remember him going to spar Deontay Wilder and Oleksandr Usyk before he even got going as a pro. And you know, I think he just didn't turn up that night at the O2 against Lawrence Okoli. It wasn't a good look for him, and I think that he's really knuckled down and he gets a great opportunity, and Chris Billam-Smith will start a favourite in front of this crowd and with the momentum he's on. But it's a really good fight, and I think both have got a chance, and I think it's going to be great action, and most importantly it's a fantastic summer show, you know, packed with talent, and great for the turnout here on the beach for the media events. And yeah, it's brought a bit of fun back to the sport, and I think that's great. And it's been a tough year for everyone at Boxer and at Sky. It's been a rebuilding year in many ways, and it's nice that the teams can come down and get a bit of sun and enjoy the sort of last show of what's been a pretty intense year.
Pretty intense year as well. There's been a pretty intense game of volleyball going on over there as well, Adam. You didn't fancy that one, though?
I was in the middle of an interview with Sugar Hill, so fortunately that was my excuse. I was asking Sugar about AJ and Usyk and getting his thoughts, and obviously talking about Ben Whittaker, and I was hearing down goes Fraser and Ben Shalom's in trouble and Johnny Nelson's falling over, so I'm glad Robert had no part of it.
Let's just start at the main event and work our way down. You mentioned there Chris Billam-Smith bringing a show down to Bournemouth. He hasn't boxed down here for a while, but very much a different vibe, headlining and defending his European and Commonwealth titles. I think the general consensus is the activity, the fights against Tommy McCarthy in recent times, probably give him the edge against Isaac Chamberlain. Would you say the activity is the biggest defining factor potentially on fight night?
Activity, momentum, and boxing at a slightly higher professional level. Plus the Shane McGuigan factor, and the camp is in red hot form with Hassan Azim and Caroline Dubois coming through. It's Daniel Dubois had that big win over in America as well. Yeah, and I think Shane and Chris are pretty close, and I think Shane knows his fighter, and I think he knows how to get the best out of Chris. They're both intelligent guys. They've got a very close bond, and I think, yeah, they probably feel this is the right fight at the right time, and I tend to agree. However, I think the best Isaac Chamberlain, if he puts it together over 12 rounds, can win this fight, or can certainly push Chris very close. I think, yeah, the likelihood is Chris sort of nicks home on points, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was a mini upset here, because Isaac is very focused, he looks in great shape, and I don't think we've seen the best of him. But yeah, probably with that momentum, activity, and fighting at that higher level, the recent win over Tommy McCarthy, and Isaac just hasn't. He's been knocking people out, but we all know that's it's all about levels in boxing. So I'd make Chris a slight favourite, but it's a great fight, and I think it's going to turn out to be one of the great trade matches of the year, and a good one for the European title, which is often forgotten.
Absolutely. Historically, over the recent years, we've had great cruiserweights from these shores. Of course, your colleague Johnny Nelson, Tony Bellew, Glenn McCrory. We've now, of course, got Lawrence Okoli, the WBO champion, Richard Riakporhe, Mikael Lawal I've seen rocking about here. Where does the winner of this fight go? They're obviously both very well ranked, particularly with the IBF, both knocking on the verge of world titles. And
the Australians are over here as well, so there's a lot of options. Cruiserweight is a hot division. I remember when it was a really unfashionable division, and Johnny was plying his trade, and then of course we all give Johnny stick for the first half of his career, but what he did at the end, reigning for 7.5 years, and then you had Evander Holyfield was a brilliant cruiserweight, David Hay as well, and Oleksandr Usyk. It's become a sexy division again, and as you say, we've got a huge amount of British talent in there. And on the other side as well, Jordan Thompson's a particular favourite of mine. I think he hits really hard. I think he's going to be a very exciting addition to this division, but you've got Mikael Lawal who's on the bill, Richard Riakporhe southpaw is one step away from a world title now. You'd have thought if Chris Billam-Smith gets through this, he is as well. So there's options. There's Makabu and as I said, the Aussies are in town. So watch this space. I think there's going to be some really big matches in the cruiserweight division going forward. You've got Dion Juma and Lawal as well. So it's fantastic, and I think it's a great division because they bring power and skills and speed, and they're intelligent too, the lot of them. So I think we're in for some good fights going forward.
You mentioned Oleksandr Usyk there, of course, very topical at the moment. We'll talk about him later. You mentioned Johnny Nelson. I saw some quotes attributed to Johnny Nelson yesterday that he feels he would have outboxed Oleksandr Usyk easily. Easily, he said. Adam, how do you think that fight goes?
I was next to him when I think it was either Kugan or Umar who were interviewing us, and he said he was an average southpaw, Oleksandr Usyk. So, I love Johnny Nelson. He's one of my great friends and great colleagues. Sometimes surprises me with what he comes out with. Listen, he'll back himself. He was going to come out of retirement having had a double hip operation and knee surgery to fight Marco Huck, and I told him he was an idiot and he was being ridiculous. And he said he'll smash Marco Huck up in a few rounds. Fortunately, that didn't happen because Johnny would have been knocked out. It's Father Time, obviously, is not kind to fighters. Look, if you brought Johnny back at his peak and put him in the ring with Oleksandr Usyk, it's an interesting fight. Of course it is. Not sure it would be a very entertaining fight, but I think he'd find out very quickly that he's not an average southpaw. But look, would I back my man? He's fought at heavyweight as well. Well, look, Usyk's plying his trade in every division, so I wouldn't be as certain that Johnny would smash Usyk to pieces, no. And I'll be asking Oleksandr and his team when I get out to Saudi. In fact, Johnny's there as well, so maybe we'll get the two of them together.
Maybe they could do a little face-off, Adam. You could host it. Back to this card, you mentioned Ben Whittaker there. Of course, a lot of talk about him. A lot of intrigue into his career, especially after Tokyo getting that silver medal out there. A lot of interest and a lot of intrigue from various promoters. He's landed here on Boxer, on Sky Sports. I can tell you're very excited about the prospect of Ben Whittaker fighting on Sky Sports. Very,
very excited. We had a hit list of fighters before they went to Tokyo. I was in Sheffield, and I came back, and there was 6 I really wanted, and we managed to negotiate 5. Galalia Fai, obviously the McCormacks, other very, very good fighters around, but I was really, really keen on the batch that we've got. Caroline Dubois, I think, is going to transcend the sport. I think she's the quiet one. I think she's the secret, and I think she's going to be potentially as good as any of them. Lauren Price, I think, will become a world champion, whatever she wants to be. Karis Hardingstall has just got so much charisma, personality, and aggressive fighting ability. I think she's going to be incredible to watch. Fraser Clark, of course, he's like the captain in Tokyo, the captain of the bunch here, of the youngsters coming through. He can turn his attention to volleyball, he can turn his attention to soccer AM, he can be a pundit for us. But you know what? He wants to be a world heavyweight champion, so I'm really excited about seeing how far he can progress. Ben Whittaker, I think, is the diamond, and I've always said to Ben Shalom that we've got to fight hard, and we needed to fight extraordinarily hard for him. It took us eventually to Nando's in Wolverhampton, which neither of us got any food. We were so nervous with our pitches to him and his dad. But you know what? I think Ben has got a bit of everything that you need. He's got plenty of talent, he's got dedication, he's different, he's flashy, he's flamboyant. He's got a great trainer in Sugar Hill who really believes in him. He's got a fantastic 258 management team. He's got the newest promotional company and the most innovative in Boxer right behind him. And he's got the experience of Sky. So he's got winners all around him. And I believe he's a winner too. So I am extraordinarily excited about Ben Whittaker. I think that he's going to change the way that boxing goes forward. How far he'll go, we can all say, oh, look, Mayweather was a Marmite character. So was Nassim Hamed. So was James DeGale. And he'll certainly attract haters as well as lovers. We don't know how far he'll go, and I like to see him in these early stages. I'm looking at Adam Azim in the embryonic stages, and I'm really impressed. I think he goes a long, long way, but of course it's bit by bit, it's level by level. Rob, you and I have been in the sport a long time, and it takes a lot of different things to fall your way to become a world champion and obviously to become a superstar of the sport. But I think we're looking at Ben Whittaker now. He's got every chance to fulfill his dreams. You mentioned there about Sugar Hill, as you very well know, going from the amateurs into the professional game. Although it has become a lot closer recent years with the WSB and no head guards and what have you, but still getting that trainer in, that professional trainer, is of paramount importance. What do you make of that blend? We all know Sugar Hill, we all know that Kronk style. He wants to go in, big shots, go for the knockout. Do you think that's what we need from Ben Whittaker? Absolutely. I think that he's got a wonderful jab, Ben, and he's got the silky skills. He can box. I think we're going to see him become aggressive too. Sugar Hill wants entertainment. You know, I've long known the whole Kronk setup. Tommy Hearns was my hero. Manuel Stewart, you know, one of my favourite trainers to work alongside, to interview, to be around, to learn off. And of course, Sugar Hill's been there from the beginning. So I'm a massive admirer of what he's done with Tyson Fury. Ben Davison did a phenomenal job, and Sugar Hill has just, you know, taken him on, and we've seen the success that he's had. And I really believe that Ben is now with a guy that can take him under his wing and can educate him in what he needs to be educated in. As I said, the natural talent and the boxing skills are there. I think the dedication and the attitude is there. And I go back to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, in my opinion, the greatest fighter we've seen in our generation to commentate on, to be around. But not only was he the greatest in the ring, Rob, he was the greatest out of the ring as well. You know, he trained harder and better than anyone else. You know, he just had that God-given, natural-born talent, the genetic talent, if you want, and then he had the dedication to go with it. You need that in this sport. There's no point just having the talent, not the dedication, or the other way around. If you've got that perfect blend, you can go a long way. And I believe that Ben has gone a long way to go. He's got to be tested, and the light heavyweight division's strong, the super middleweight division's strong. Who knows where he'll end up in? He weighed 12.6. It looks like he'll end up at light heavyweight, you'd have thought. And that's a hard division. But he's got dedication, he wants it, he's got attitude, and he's got natural talent. So he's in a really good place.
Final one on this card, you've mentioned Caroline Dubois, you've mentioned Fraser Clark, Ben Whittaker, you've mentioned Adam Azim. We have Hassan Azim, the hitman himself. I spoke to Shane McGuigan in the gym, of course, who trains both Hassan and Adam. He referred to him as their secret weapon. Adam, of course, is getting a lot of push behind him because of his spectacular knockouts and backflips and Ronaldo celebrations. But Hassan Azim as well, coming up quietly behind him, and looks like another very interesting prospect.
Reminds me very much of Ricky and Matthew Hatton. Ricky, of course, was the stellar amateur, and Matthew not so much. And it always looked like he'd have to sort of live in his brother's shadow, but Matt had a fantastic career, ending up fighting Canelo and a European champion. And yeah, he didn't reach the heights of Ricky, but I think when one brother has obviously got that incredible natural talent like Adam does, it can be tough for the other one. But I think Hassan has character, I think he's got power, and Shane likes him. So they're going to take their time with Hassan, and I think that he can go a long way as well. Without that pressure on his shoulders, whether his younger bro can sort of take that off him and go and try and do everything fast track wise. Yeah, we'll see how they both develop. I think it's very exciting for their dad and their family. They're two great guys. I like them a great deal, and they're very good for the sport. And I believe Hassan will surprise a few people too.
Before we move on to sort of any other business, you mentioned at the start of the interview, kind of the first year of the new dawn on Sky Sports Boxing being challenging, intense and what have you. Just try and sum up that year for me and talk me through kind of the highs and lows, the more difficult moments from that last 12 months.
Probably the toughest year we've had in a long, long time, and we had a wonderful decade, obviously, with Eddie and Matchroom, and some phenomenal success. And I was working very closely with Frank and with Eddie for a long, long time, and it was pretty painful at the beginning, to be honest, from a personal point of view. I felt like I'd lost an arm, I'd lost a friend, and that was tough. But you got to pick yourself up. It's business. I didn't know Ben at all. I'd spoken to him once, maybe, and then suddenly we had a 4-year deal, and it was like, right, Adam, off you go and develop this next couple of 2-3 years with Ben. I couldn't have asked for. I wouldn't say he's an equal replacement to Eddie, because they're very different. Eddie's got enormous charisma, he's an incredible interviewee, he's a phenomenal promoter in his own mind. Ben is different, but they're both extraordinarily dedicated and extraordinarily talented, maybe a bit like the fighters. They both work 24/7, so I was given Eddie to work with and help build up, and then I was given Ben, and I think Ben is very entrepreneurial, he's extremely bright, he's like a maverick genius. He tends to sort of, go off in different tangents, in different directions. You have to pull him back. Sometimes you can't get hold of him, and he's off in another world. But that's Ben, and I think that we've worked really well together. We've worked very, very closely and intensely. I'm not sure our partners, our wives, will testify, and that it's been a sweet year in their world, but it's been a very tough year. Ben can call me at 12:30 at night, and I would expect something, and he'll just go off on something else. And I like that. He keeps me on my toes. He reminds me a little bit of a sort of great businessman, and in many ways also like a younger brother or even a son. He can be. You don't quite know which day and what you'll get with Ben Shalom, but what I do know is that he's very passionate. He's got a brilliant brain. He's got a wonderful team around him that he's building, and he genuinely adores fighters and boxers. And it's great to have another promoter like that. We've had Frank Warren ruling the roost for so long. We've had Eddie Hearn's, dramatic entries a decade ago, and we've got Mick Hennessy and obviously other promoters around. Wasserman doing a great job with Channel 5. There's lots, and a lot of the small halls that were suffered during the pandemic. But I think Ben has done that. He's done a bit of the tournament stuff. He's brought it to Sky. He's been given the keys. It's been incredibly hard work. I've had to pull him back at times. I've had to advise him. Sometimes I've got things wrong. Sometimes he has. But I think if you look at the year total and see that we've got Richard Riatpur up and running. We've had some fantastic shows on Sky Sports with the help of our other promotional partner, Top Rank. The likes of Devon Haney, the likes of Lomachenko, having Josh Taylor and Jack Cattrall, so fantastic additions with Top Rank. And it all comes together on September the 10th when we've got Clarissa Shields, via our work with Dimitri Salita against Savannah Marshall, long time a Sky scholar. And then you've got Michaela Mayer coming over from Top Rank. So it shows how working together on a platform does, pay dividends. You've got Mick Hennessy bringing Isaac in for this and things like that. But I think what Boxer and Sky have done and how we've worked together, we've had a lot of support from the Sky business. The teams have worked extraordinarily hard to create and to make it, a new vibe, and Baz's work with the events and to make something look different. And Ben and I have really concentrated on the fighters and the strategy. And I'm pretty happy with where we are now, having the likes of Fraser and Adam and Caroline and Lauren and Karis and Ben as the new talent coming through. Eddie's got all the fighters, the majority of the stock British fighters of the last few years. We didn't have a lot of choice but to go out and win very, very hard battles for the young talent and stars of the future, and I think that's what we're going to get. So it's a rebuilding process. We're only a year in, but I'm pretty happy with where we are, and we've got lots to look forward to in the summer and autumn.
Just moving away from this card, what's the latest with Joseph Parker? Of course, signed with Boxer and Sky Sports. I've seen stuff about him that we saw on the Fury White broadcast at BT. That was supposed to be fighting on BT, and then he signed with Sky and Boxer. And now we had down the very public back and forth between Frank Warren and Ben Shalom regarding a potential fight there. What's the latest with Joseph Parker?
Who knows? Maybe that can still happen. We don't know. It's early days with our relationship with Joe Parker. Well, only with Boxer and Sky. Obviously, we go back a long, long way, and I'm really pleased to be working with Joe again. I think he's one of the most engaging. And I think Chris Billam-Smith calls himself the gentleman, one of the nicest guys in boxing. I think you can say that about Joe Parker. He's almost like an adopted Brit. He's brilliant in New Zealand. And he's been the nearly man over here, hasn't he? And I think that, getting the Sky might behind him and getting a real sort of young promotional company like Boxer to guide him, I think is going to be fantastic for him. So whether he fights Joe Joyce or whether he fights, the Huey Furies or Michael Hunters, or whether, we go even a bit bolder and go into the sort of Deontay Wilders, Luis Ortiz, I know he's fighting Andy Ruiz. There's so much out there. I think what you know with Joe is he'll fight anybody. He's a former world champion. He can come again, and now he's going to be the A-sider on a lot of our, promotions and productions, and maybe we can work in tandem with others to deliver, really good fights for Joe Parker. But we're concentrating on what his first big move is, and we'll be announcing that soon.
Sticking with the heavyweights, we were, of course, greeted by big news this week that Anthony Joshua's rematch of Oleksandr Usyk will be on Sky Sports on August the 20th. Just first and foremost, I know you've been with Anthony Joshua from the very start of his professional career. What does it mean to yourself and Sky Sports to have Anthony Joshua back on the platform, or still on the platform, should I say?
It's fantastic news. Obviously, we've grown very close to AJ over the years, win or lose. He's been part of the Sky furniture, the family, the makeup. His picture on the billboard as you drive down the M4, and he's been brilliant sort of in our contact centres helping us out, and I think Anthony has been phenomenal for the sport. Obviously he's got a huge fight ahead of him to try and exact revenge on Oleksandr Usyk after what happened at Tottenham. So the most important thing is he focuses on that fight. But of course, there were people at Sky who were upset when he decided to move to DAZN as a big part of their future as an ambassador. Maybe I was less so, because I think with Anthony and any fighter, they've got to take the best deal that's in front of them. It's a short career, a short window at whatever level you are at. And I think that you sometimes have to make selfish decisions for yourself and your family. AJ did it in exactly the most professional and right way. He called me up, he emailed all of us, and there's absolutely no hard feelings. In fact, I'm very close to him, my family is, and I always said I wish him the best, and I went down to the press conference in London, and it was great to see him and Freddie and the team. It was great to see the Usyk team, and then we got talking with the Princes, and there was an opportunity, and we all thought the fight would be on DAZN, but the Saudis owned the rights, and we went into battle, and it was very important for us to deliver a huge night for our Sky customers, and I think it's the right platform, the best platform that it's ended up on. It's the biggest fight of the year. It's so important for Anthony Joshua's career. It's so important for Oleksandr Usyk. Let's not forget him, the terrible situation in Ukraine and what he's been going through, and also the fact that we've had his best moments on Sky. You know, we know Alex and Aegis and all of the guys really well, and it's going to be fantastic all being reunited with Eddie and Frank and Matchroom and everybody in Saudi. I believe Ben Whittaker is going to be on the card as well, so there'll be representatives of boxers, so it'll be like one happy family, won't it, for the week, and we'll all be pushing together to make it a huge happening. And let's see if AJ can become a 3-time heavyweight champion, or whether we're looking at someone in Oleksandr Usyk who may not be beaten. I mean, no one's done it yet, and hey, how many amateur fights did he have? And unbeaten as a pro, undisputed cruiserweight champion. The guy is a phenomenon. He's no average southpaw.
No average southpaw indeed, like that. Happy families indeed, but even the happiest of families occasionally fall out. Over the last 12 months, over the last 6 months in particular, while I've been sat on the sofa watching all of the interviews, I have seen some back and forth between yourself and Eddie. How's the relationship now? Are you expecting any frostiness when you go over into Saudi Arabia? Because from afar at least, it looks as though things haven't always been as happy in the happy family.
Listen, Eddie's working for DAZN and Matchroom Media, and he's got his business. You know, I pitch up on the darts every now and again for Sky, and I see Matt Porter and his brilliant team. I've always been close to Barry and Eddie and all of the Matchroom guys and girls. You know, that doesn't just change. That's part of what we've had for years and years. John Wischusen now works for Boxer, and you know that we go down memory lane a lot about times at Matchroom, and it's a very small business, but obviously they've got agendas and they've got their businesses to concentrate on, and we've got ours to rebuild with Boxer and with Top Rank, and that's what happens. I said to you, it was painfully personal last year. It was painful for a business, but you know what? We picked ourselves up. We've gone again. They're doing some fantastic stuff over on DAZN. I'm really enjoying their shows. Laura presenting, and they're getting Tony Bellew and some of our old mates from Sky. It is a small business, and some of them working behind the scenes as well that we've worked with for a long time. So I do keep quite close with them, and there will be no frostiness at all in the desert. I consider Eddie and Frank as friends of mine, and business is business, and I've always tried to conduct myself like that. I won't throw stones over there because I think they're doing a great job. I'm more interested in concentrating on what we're doing. I'm there to help Ben. Ben's there to help me. I'm there to try and help Sky and our customers have the best possible boxing we can have, having had a very difficult sort of year to rebuild. And I think we've delivered that with Khan and Brook on box office. We look at Taylor and Cattrall on Sky Sports, and also the Eubank-Williams fight. And September the 10th is a pivotal night for women's sport. It's a fantastic occasion. It's going to be something really, really different. You've got brilliant people from Boxer like Baz, who just handed me a bottle of water.
That's some great service.
So lovely, and they're such a great team. They're enthusiastic, they're passionate, they're clever. They do lack a bit of experience, which is why John and I are trying to sort of help on that side. But I think they're going to be a very, very successful outfit, Boxer. I'm very excited about what they're doing, grass levels with tournaments and all the way up. As I said, I think Matchroom are an incredible business. What they've done with the darts, the snooker and the boxing, they're absolutely fantastic, and it won't be frosty at all in Saudi. It will be absolutely brilliant, and I'm sure Eddie and Frank and I will look forward to catching up and seeing each other again and chewing the fat.
I'm sure even the hardest frost can thaw in the desert, Adam. DAZN, and you mentioned there about DAZN signing Anthony Joshua, and I think a lot of people, myself included, expected that Joshua Usyk could potentially go to DAZN. You've just mentioned there about Sky being the bigger and the better platform. Is that what ultimately you feel is a tipping point and getting it to Sky? Of course, you mentioned there going into battle and coming back with the spoils of war, so to speak. What tipped it in Sky's favour, do you think?
I think people have asked me already whether it's vindication that AJ, we get AJ after he left. It's nothing like that. What it is we look at what's right for the Sky business and our customers. Our customers come first. That's what we try and get, as many big fights as we can on Sky Sports. That's what we provide, the likes of your Lomachenkos and your Haneys and, great fighters, Shakur Stevenson in that Valdez fight. Wonderful, big global fights for Sky Sports, as well as obviously all the action that Boxer have brought in the UK, of which there's been some thunderous stuff already. But we are working with obviously select fighters at the moment, and sometimes you need, a big hit. You need to be really involved in that heavyweight division. And I just think that, look, it's right that it's on Sky. I think the Saudis are obviously keen for it to be on our platform because, it's the biggest platform, and obviously Sky box office is is robust. It's it's had enormous success over the last 25, 30 years. Nobody does it, I don't think, like the team behind us at Sky. The arsenal is huge. We get 24/7 work with Sky Sports News. The digital and social reach is massive. The entertainment guys get involved, Sky News. There's loads of different arms, and so the promotion in the next 3 weeks will be really intense. So I'm sure they looked at that. Of course it was expensive. It was very expensive. These things are, and you have to look at it and see whether it all makes commercial sense too. But as I say, our customers come first and foremost, and we want to make sure that they get the best that we can offer, and we had the chance of doing it. I want to thank the big bosses at Sky, because they got right behind us. They supported us hugely. The head of rights, Rob Selms, was an integral part of this, especially sort of getting all the contracts and everything together, which was a very difficult progress, working with a new company in Skill Challenge. It wasn't sort of contracting with Matchroom, so it was something different and new. But there was a lot of good feeling on both sides. We had some great meetings and dinners, and it's all come out, and now it's official, and we can concentrate on what I hope we do best, which is the boxing side, the storytelling, and it's an easy story to tell because there's so much on the line on August the 20th for both of them and for the world of boxing. So while Tyson Fury's in his sort of self-imposed retirement and doing the bins in Morecambe, and we wait to see him tempted back, all eyes are on Oleksandr Usyk and AJ too, and we can't wait to bring it to the UK, and hopefully with bells on and the razzmatazz we normally associate with a box office fight, Rob.
You mentioned there about it being an expensive deal. Of course, these unified heavyweight title fights are not cheap to bring to your platform. The price has gone up on the pay-per-view to £26.95. Was that the reasoning behind it?
Look, I think obviously it is a business. I think we have to look at that. I've said to you in the past that the price is the price, and ultimately people, customers, everyone has a choice about whether they want to dip into Sky Sports box office, and we hope they do, because this is a fantastic night, and I think if you're a boxing fan or a sports fan, it's one you don't want to miss. There's everything goes up, doesn't it? There's a bit of inflation. I suppose that it's a bigger fight this year than it was last year, and also you look at the card. We've got a great card on it. It was a very expensive fight to put together. These things are, and I think that obviously we'd love to not have to do things like that, and it's the decision of the company and the business behind it to see obviously whether the mathematics work and whether it's viable doing it. And I'm sure that they find exactly the same thing with DAZN and Matchroom. They're going into the pay-per-view world now, and I think you understand that some of these fights are so expensive to put together. There's so much money in the sport at the moment, and that's wonderful for the fighters. That's benefiting them. But you've also, we work for a business, so we've got to make sure that our customers get the best value, which is why we put the biggest fights we can on Sky Sports. A lot of people thought that the Liam Williams-Eubank fight would be a pay-per-view fight. A lot of people thought Savannah and Clarissa would be. They're not. We're putting those on Sky Sports. But once in a while, there is a fight and a reason that we have to do box office fights. And I think if you look at Calmbrook and AJ Usyk, or Usyk AJ too, I think you realise why that has to happen. So, I don't know what it costs for a night out at the cinema now, or you're going to, Lords to watch the cricket, a couple of tickets there. I'm sure they're very expensive, and we know a lot of people who can't obviously get out to Saudi with the travel and the expense and the difficulty of that. They'll want to tune in and watch it. So I'm glad it's not more than it is, but it is what it is, and that's, as I said, it's the customer's choice. But we want to make sure we give them every bit of value for money and the build-up and the box office experience. And I tell you what, we'll all be working 24/7 to try and make sure that happen. We'll do everything we can to make it an incredible night, and I understand why people are questioning that. And I'm a boxing fan, and sometimes you have to pay a little bit more. But maybe I'll go back to when I was a young sort of TV guy in Washington, and I was paying $90 for a pay-per-view in America when you're watching the likes of Mike Tyson and stuff like that. And it's always been very expensive over there. So I'm hoping that if you look at it and the length of times we've done the box office fights, it's not too bad in comparison.
We've spoken in the past, of course, about pay-per-view. I don't want to dwell too long on it, but does this set a precedent? Is this a one-off? Could we see a pay-per-view price increasing to $26.95 from here on out?
I don't know. I think that ultimately you've got to look at each and every fight. I mean, if you've suddenly got Joshua wins and you get Joshua Fury together and it's called the biggest fight of all time, and there's hundreds of millions involved, maybe everything will go up. Maybe it'll be more expensive to get a fight ticket, to get a plane, to get a, you just don't know. I think you've got to just take it a step at a time. This is the situation we were in. We had to be very aggressive with what we could do with the deal here to try and land the rights, which we were, but I think the platform helped us. I think we obviously didn't want to go too far. Everything is a commercial deal, but obviously we have the fact that the Saudis know us because we've been there before with the Andy Ruiz fight, and we've obviously got the huge platform, not just on Sky but Comcast with NBC and Universal. We've got a massive media company, so I think that was important. So I don't know what will happen in the future. Obviously, and you and I would like to keep it as low as we can, but sometimes there's other factors, and I guess each decision will be made as and when it comes. But for now, if I look at it and think, okay, we've had how many box office fights in the last year? We've had Khan Brook and we've had this one, and we've had so much on Sky Sports. All world title fights, brilliant big names from around the world, fantastic UK fights that are getting 1 million Sky Sports subscribers or views from the subscription. I think it's fantastic. So I think if you look at it the bigger picture, I think we're really giving value for money for the customers to go alongside our huge sports portfolio, with the Premier League about to kick off again, with Formula One, with the darts that I'm involved in, with the cricket, the hundreds about to start. It's a great set of rights that Sky have, and but we put our customers first and foremost, and that all these things are taken into consideration each and every time we do a deal.
You mentioned there about having other sports, of course, having football and all of the other sports that you just mentioned there. Of course, another sport that you have is the golf. Recently, Sky Sports have covered the LIV Golf Series, of course, out in Saudi Arabia. Quite negatively, I think it's fair to say, on Sky Sports platforms. I think the word that's been thrown around is hypocrite, or is this somewhat hypocritical for you to take a fight over to Saudi, given all of the press that the LIV Golf Tour has received recently?
Listen, I'm a big golf fan, and I've obviously watched with interest at what's gone on. And look, there's Formula One over in Saudi Arabia. We've had boxing there before. This isn't the first time we've been over there. But I'm, of course, acutely aware of the sensitivity and the politics, which I don't want to get involved in, Rob. I'm a broadcaster. I work in trying to put the best boxing on Sky Sports and put the best TV sort of experience for customers, and ultimately we don't decide where the location is for fights. That's up to the promoters, the managers, the Saudis, everyone that got involved. The deal was there already. It was always going to happen in Jeddah, and I think that's a question maybe more for others. But as a broadcaster, we don't mind whether the fight's in Britain, in America, in Germany, wherever it is around the world. If it's a big event and a big fight and a big sporting happening, we'd like to bring it to our customers if it's possible. But I like to focus on, the side of we're telling a story. We're telling the Usyk-AJ story. We're concentrating on the boxing side of it, and we'll go out and be as professional as we were in 2019. I'm being told by the Saudis, who've been very good with us, and they're saying that a lot of the kids are getting involved in the gyms now. I like kids getting involved in boxing wherever they are in the world, so if there's some good stories to come out, that's great. As far as the political side and the sensitivities, I understand it, but I'd rather focus on what we do, which is trying to put on the best possible production, promotion and experience for our viewers as possible. That's what we do each and every time. We've got a committed, dedicated, passionate boxing team, and that's what all our energy will be put on in the next 3.5 weeks.
You mentioned telling the story there, of course. Going back to the golf, the story was told on the golf about the human rights records in Saudi Arabia. Will you be telling those sides of the story for the boxing?
Look, as I said, I'll be concentrating on what we do, which is telling the story of Oleksandr Usyk and Usyk-Joshua. We've gone out and bid for a fight which is the biggest fight of the year. It's a fantastic event. And as I said, we've been to Saudi before. This isn't the first time we've been asked these sort of questions, and not the first time where the world is watching. But as I said before, we're not the only sport that's maybe under the microscope. The golf and the Formula One have been involved, and as I said, we have before, and other people have in operations in Saudi Arabia. So I'll be concentrating on the boxing side of it. I will be myself getting to Saudi fairly late on the week because I'm going from a holiday. So I've
off to?
family. I'm in America, so I'll have to break my family holiday, which I'm sure will go down really well. But I'll be out in Saudi. We'll be taking a small team. There'll be a huge team at Sky headquarters this time. We're going to pack Sky with talent and having a sort of glittering event from studios, as well as a small team out in Saudi. But we'll be focusing on telling the story of the biggest fight of the year.
And with that being said, let's talk about the fight before I let you go. We are both being cooked here in the Bournemouth sun. Usyk-Joshua versus Oleksandr Usyk. The first fight was an extremely high-level boxing match. What are you expecting to see in the rematch in Saudi Arabia?
I cannot wait. I really don't know. I thought beforehand, when the fight was announced, I thought Usyk-Joshua will probably be, too big and too strong for Oleksandr Usyk. But my mind changed in the last 3 or 4 days before the fight. I think at the weigh-in, we were talking about southpaws and the fact that Spencer Oliver, you have the quietest voice in Bournemouth. You're getting naked. Can you do that without us around? You and Johnny go and do what you do in Bournemouth. Meanwhile, I cannot wait, Rob, for the fight. First time around, I just suddenly started thinking that Oleksandr Usyk's had 360 odd amateur fights. AJ hasn't. AJ only had a round and a half of experience as a southpaw, against a southpaw rather, in Charles Martin. So suddenly I started to think, maybe it won't be as simple. And I remember after the first round putting the mic down to Matt and goes, and he goes, no, I think AJ's, he's going to come back. And he came back for 2 or 3 rounds, and then it was a masterclass from Usyk. What happens this time? Obviously, he's going to try different tactics. He's going to be more physical. He's got Robert Garcia with him, who's an aggressive trainer, and he has to be. He's got to try and utilise his size, his strength, his power, cut the corners, make it dirty, make it messy. Will that play into Oleksandr Usyk's hands, that he's a more skillful boxer and he can also dig and he can counter Joshua and possibly even get the stoppage this time? Or will AJ manage to land one and Usyk will be a bit overconfident after what happened first time around? And who knows what Oleksandr's mental state's like as well. Obviously, he's had the terrible situation of Ukraine. Our hearts have gone out to all his people. We've been there a number of times. Obviously, Vladimir and Vitaly and Vasily and Oleksandr himself are good friends of ours over the years. Most of them have fought on the front line or have been. Oleksandr was asked to go and spread the word of Ukraine in a positive light. I'm sure he'll want to do that. He's also a bigger heavyweight now as well, so that might change things. That might make him more confident. Might just maybe harness the speed a little bit as well. Johnny Nelson's come into the next interview as well. They're talking about getting naked in the sea. We started this interview with you saying that Johnny Nelson would beat Oleksandr Usyk. He'd smash him up. But we also reminded ourselves that Johnny called Oleksandr Usyk an average southpaw. So let's let the fans decide what they think.
Please put in the comments, who do you think wins, Johnny Nelson or Oleksandr Usyk? Adam Smith.
Johnny, you're my friend. You're my great friend. You gonna get knocked out.
Adam Smith.
A peak Johnny Nelson against a peak Oleksandr Usyk would be a fascinating fight and also one of the dullest, least entertaining spectacles you'll get.
Yeah, but who wins and how?
Adam.
Who wins
Adam Smith.
Well, I'm going to do it.
Go on.
Johnny Nelson sparks him out inside 3.
Do you know what? We had this with Glenn McCrory and Johnny Nelson for many years, and I always said that Glenn would dominate Johnny Nelson for 3-4 rounds, and then he'd get tired, and Johnny would catch him later on. And Glenn could never accept that, and it never happened. And maybe Glenn would have beaten Johnny. What?
Well, there's still time. Stranger things have happened recently in boxing, Adam, so maybe we could see that.
We don't want any of that. We had that ridiculous Marco Hook situation. It was awful. Thank God he didn't get knocked out by that. Johnny Nelson, one of the great cruiserweights of all time, long retired, and now he's a TV pundit, and he's still telling us that Oleksandr Usyk is an average southpaw.
Well, we gotta love him, but we don't always have to agree with him.
He'll be in the desert. He'll be there with Oleksandr, so let's get them head to head.
Yeah, Oleksandr's quite an interesting character, as you know. I'm not sure how that will go. But Adam, always a pleasure to catch up with you. It's been a while. Thanks very much for speaking to ID Boxing. Really, very much looking forward to Chris Billam-Smith versus Isaac Chamberlain with a whole host of young talent this weekend in Bournemouth.
We're still talking about after everything else. Rob, it's been a long interview. We've been cooking in the sun. Have a good weekend.